meeting. Next item is approval of minutes from November 12th meeting. That would be our council business meeting. Is there any addendums or changes to that council meeting? If not, I'll take a motion to approve.
I move that we approve the minutes from the November 12th City Council business meeting.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. We are going to jump to our audit report. I see that we do have an online presence from Gilbert and Stewart. So I am assuming that that's who is going to be making that presentation. Steve, anything else I can share with us before we begin that?
No, Mayor, you can turn the time over to Ron.
Ron, would you go ahead and share your audit report with us?
Great. Can you guys hear me okay?
We can.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for allowing me to be here and do this virtually. I really appreciate that. What I'd like to do is just really quickly go through what we do as auditors and the conclusions that we came to and how that affects your city. So there's really 3 or 4 areas that we look at this year in your city. One is to make sure that the financial statements are materially correct and they meet accounting standards. The second is that internal controls are designed, implemented, and effectively working. The third is that you're in compliance with state law based on the areas that we looked at. And fourth is that you're in compliance with the Single Audit Act or the federal funds that you expended during the year. So what I'll do is just quickly go through each of those areas and what we did and the conclusions we came to and how that affects you. So as far as the financial statements go, we take the trial balance or the books of the city and we perform a number of tests on those. We test those to make sure they're mathematically accurate, that they balance, and then we send out confirmations to third parties to make sure that the balance that we show matches what they're reporting. We do that for cash, property taxes, sales and use tax, Class C roads, URS pensions, other taxes and revenues that we can confirm. We'll confirm those balances to make sure they're right. We do a number of reviews of invoices. So at the beginning of the audit, we'll pull a sample of invoices. We'll look at those to make sure the check is matched the invoice, that it's properly approved, that it hits the right period. We do that at the beginning of the audit. It gives us a good sense of how the city is doing. We'll also, as we're doing that, we'll kind of look at controls to make sure there's proper approvals and that they've been signed off. We also do that for capital assets, accounts payable. So we'll pull a number of invoices after the end of the year and make sure that the expense is coded in the proper period. So if an expense happens in June, we want to make sure that's recorded in June, even though it may not be paid until July. For accrued liabilities and various other things, as we look through the audit, we'll pull invoices to review those. There's a number of calculations on the financial statements, so we'll go through and make sure those calculations meet accounting standards and are mathematically correct. We recalculate those balances for accrued payroll, depreciation expense, compensated absences, pensions, those type of allocations and calculations. Then we also do a number of analytical reviews. So we'll take a look at this year compared to last year, look for differences. We have expectations of what we think it should do, and if it doesn't meet those expectations, then we start to ask questions and find out why. We do that at the beginning of the audit, pretty in depth. We'll do that as we go through testing each individual balances, and then at the end of the audit, when the financial statements are being written, we'll do it a third time to make sure that we can understand the differences and what changed within your city. And then we perform a number of other tests that help us to determine that your financial statements are materially correct, and you can rely upon those numbers and that they meet accounting standards. So through our testing and all those reviews and work, it's our opinion that the financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respects the respective financial position of the governmental activities, business type activities, each major fund, and the aggregate remaining fund information of the city as of June 30th, 2024, and the respective changes in financial position and, where applicable, cash flows thereof for the year end in accordance with accounting principles generally accepted in the United States of America. So that's an unmodified opinion, a clean opinion, or the best opinion that you can receive. So what that means is that those financial statements that you have are materially correct and that you can rely upon those numbers and they do meet accounting standards. Second thing we look at is internal controls. We don't give an opinion on controls, but we do evaluate those controls as we go through our audit process. We want to make sure that those controls are designed, that they're implemented, and they're actually effective in what they do. We do that, we kind of evaluate those controls through interviews, walkthroughs, questionnaires, our testing with, some of the other testing that we do will evaluate those controls as well. We looked at payroll, we looked at cash disbursements, cash receipts, and follow those transactions from point of origin through to the financial statements to make sure those controls are actually being followed and are effective. Like I said, we don't give an opinion on those, but we did evaluate those. If there was a significant area in your city that just didn't have controls, or those controls were just not working at all, that would be considered a material weakness. If there were controls at one time and those controls just don't seem to be as effective as they have been, that would be considered a significant deficiency. If either of those were here and we found those, we would bring those to your attention. But through our interviews and walkthroughs and questionnaires, we feel that the controls are designed effectively and they're working within your city. So there's no issues that we need to bring to your attention. Third area that we look at is state compliance. State auditor gives us certain procedures to perform each year. Some of those are annually, some of those are on a 3-year rotating basis. They give us procedures to perform, and those help us to determine whether we're in compliance with those state laws. This year, if I can pull this up real quick. Sorry, give me just a second. Right there. This year we looked at budgetary compliance, fund balance, justice court, restricted taxes, government fees, fraud risk assessment, and the Utah retirement systems. So those are the areas that we looked at. We went through those procedures, and there were no findings or things that we needed to bring to your attention. We do feel like you are in compliance with those areas and with the state law that's been given. The last thing that we do, if you have federal dollars and you spend more than $750,000 of that in 1 year, then you're subject to what is called a single audit. And that is just, we look at that program and then we test to make sure that we're in compliance with those. Each federal department has different requirements of how money can be spent and the ways that you can spend that and be in compliance. And so we go through those compliance issues to make sure that you're meeting those. So we did look at the ARPA funds this year and went through that testing. There were no issues or findings that we needed to bring to your attention. We feel like you're in compliance with those federal requirements in regarding to like I said, mostly was the ARPA funds for your secondary meter project and others. So those are kind of the things that we did. That's a quick review of what we do as auditors and the conclusions that we came to. And I'd be happy to answer any questions anybody has.
Council, are there any questions for the audit?
No, we saw this in work session as well, and any questions we had, I asked them. But well done, good audit, and kudos to our accounting team.
Okay. All right. Seeing none, thank you very much. And we will move on.
Awesome. If I could just throw out there really quick, Steve does a great job. Their accounting department has a great handle on things. So we appreciate their efforts. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's move on to the transportation master plan. This is not this is resolution R24-43. This is not a big change. This is more just allowing for the future needs of an intersection.
Our transportation master plan was updated just last year and adopted with the impact fee facility plan. This little 4-page document is not changing any of that master plan. It's just adding a little bit to it, specific to the area of an intersection at 2700 South, 2000 West. That's where the 6-way roundabout is today. We recognize with the new interchange on 2000 West, traffic demands will grow in the future. Right now, it's handling it okay. There's no immediate need to do any improvements to that intersection. But this document shows a couple of ideas that could happen in the future to improve it. And the only reason we were looking at that was to understand how much land would be needed to exact, if any, in the future to accommodate whatever design is determined in the future. So this document just basically just shows us the amount of land we would need for any future improvements.
Any questions?
No, it makes sense. This still provides the two options.
Yes.
We'll be doing one of those two. Yeah, that's what I thought. Is this just going to go in as an appendix to our existing document? How does this tie into our document? Because there's a lot of pages that aren't in this plan that I'm seeing here. So
Yeah, I guess it didn't really specify whether it's an appendix or
It says on the heading amended.
I think it's just an amendment.
that's where I'm.
maybe basically just add to it.
Yeah, it's an amendment through an addition, essentially.
Okay, so they'll live as separate documents, just knowing that this is additional pages.
It's still part of the IFFP.
Okay,
Okay.
I guess that's fine.
Can
Assuming we
I get a
need,
motion? Yeah.
I move we approve resolution R24-43, amending the 2023, we need to call it, well, Syracuse City Transportation Master Plan as outlined.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Item number 6 is resolution R24-44, authorizing the mayor to enter into a cooperative agreement with Utah Department of Transportation for landscaping and aesthetic improvements associated with the West Davis Highway. This would be our management of keeping things clean mostly.
Yeah, I can take that. So this agreement basically enables the city to make aesthetic improvements within the UDOT property near the freeway. We focused in our discussions in the work sessions on Antelope Drive and the West Davis Highway. This agreement does not specify what those improvements actually are. It just allows us to do them. And then UDOT agrees also to give us financial support for those improvements to the tune of $800,000, half of which will be given up front, and then the remaining will be given as we expend our resources for the improvements. And then it also stipulates that when we do make those improvements, we then are charged with maintaining those improvements.
Okay, thank you. Any questions?
Are we gonna have any problem with the September 1st, 2025 deadline? This gives us 9 months to get everything done.
Right. Yep. And we shouldn't have any problems with that.
Yeah, I saw no problem.
Can I get a motion?
People give us money.
I
Oh, go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
move that we adopt proposed resolution R24-44, authorizing the mayor to enter into cooperative agreement with the Utah Department of Transportation, UDOT, for landscaping and aesthetics improvements associated with the West Davis Highway.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Item number 7, authorize administration to award contract for State Road SR 193 Waterline Project. Robert.
So council, we have in our current budget an item for a capital project improvement. This is a 12-inch water main that would run along the south side of SR 193 between 2000 West and 3000 West. There is a small stub line that goes in right about 2500 West for a potential future. So this got bid out. There were 8 bidders. And the low bid was Craythorne. Craythorne has done a lot of work for us in the past, so we're confident that they know how to do the work. The bid came out at $522,774. Our budget's $528,000, so we're definitely within budget. And I'm bringing it to you for consideration of approving the award.
Any questions from the council?
Nope.
I'll take a motion.
I move that we authorize administration to award the contract for State Road SR 193 Waterline Project to Craythorne.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, number 8, and authorize administration to execute agreement with PAW Enterprise LLC pertaining to the revision of ownership of 2 parcels of property located on Antelope Drive. Who's taking this one?
Yes, that's me.
Okay,
This is the property that the city sold to Sheldon Peck a few years ago. He was required to develop a parking lot that could be used by the public for the park there. He was also required to build an office building. He's decided not to do that, and so this would revert those parcels back to the city. In exchange, we will refund the $500,000 to him, along with about $7,600 for engineering services that he incurred in the design of the parking lot. And the third part of the agreement is that the 32 stalls or 36 stalls that were there originally, he also promised that the public could use those. That portion of the public use on the original 36 stalls will go away. So basically, it puts both parties back to where they were before the property was sold.
any questions, council? I'll take a motion.
I motion that we authorize administration to execute agreement with PAW Enterprises LLC pertaining to the reversion of ownership of 2 parcels of property located on Antelope Drive.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that moved quickly, and we are now at public comment. This is a chance for the public to let us know if there's something new you'd like us to talk about in a future meeting or address something that may not be on our agenda at this time. We cannot take up new issues, but we can listen. Is there anyone who has a public comment for us tonight? To begin with, if you'd state your name and address, we'd appreciate that.
My name is Brian Hanna. I live at 1126 South 4050 West here in Syracuse, Utah. It's a Criddle Farms neighborhood. My question as it pertains to the council is related to Halloween. And where I grew up, the city council established not only the hours for trick or treating, but also the day. It was typically the last Friday of the month, and they had those hours established in order to make sure that all parents, working adults, whatnot, could get home from work safely before they were dealing with kids running through the neighborhood. I love Halloween. This past year, my wife and I handed out between 600 and 800 kids worth of candy, which is great. It's fantastic. We love to see it, but we had kids knocking on our door as early as 3:45 in the afternoon and as late as 11:30 at night. I'm just curious if in the future the council would look at that and see if it's in the purview of the city to potentially dictate what hours and or date Halloween is in the interests of both public safety and ensuring that all members of the community have an opportunity to participate, make sure that they're home from work, school, et cetera, in time.
Okay, thank you. As this was not on our agenda, we can't answer questions on that, but we can take it up at a future time.
I appreciate your opportunity to address the council.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Is there anyone else that has a public comment? Okay, seeing none, I will close public comment. And now we'll go to mayor and council announcements. Let's start with you, Brett.
Nothing for me tonight, thanks.
Okay, Julie.
Nothing tonight?
Okay, Paul.
So I just had one comment to bring up. I emailed everybody about it, but the planning commission has offered and wondered if we would like their feedback or insight into the code dealing with buffer requirements along freeways or highways where we've got a new highway going through. So just wanted to see if we would potentially want to add that to a future work
Okay.
session.
I will put that on a future agenda for discussion amongst the council. Thank you. Jordan,
You know what? I actually don't have anything today.
okay. Jennifer, did you have something you wanted to share with us?
I actually do not have anything today either.
Okay, thank you. We're going to move on to our work session items. The first item is discussion. This is no action item, but we want to review the city mission and vision statements and just get a general consensus if there is anything particular that the council would like department heads to consider in preparing the budget for the coming year. As we start about this time for the budget that will be due next year, these are not specific action items, and we will have a budget retreat where we'll discuss and vote on things. This is just a general consensus. If there are things that you'd like to be under consideration during the preparation phase. So let's start with Jennifer online. Did you have anything in particular you wanted to discuss as a change in vision?
No, Mayor, not currently. Thank you.
Okay. Jordan.
I had a few that I want to just bring up and get people's thoughts on them.
Okay.
There's a few that on, for example, fire and EMS as one of the items. I know that we have a lot on them going out and doing the awesome things they do. One thing I know that also falls under their jurisdiction, but we haven't really discussed as part of one of their goals, is promoting programs to help citizens be prepared for emergencies. And those are things like CERT, CPR classes, fire prevention. I know they also go out and do checks on smoke detectors. I just know it's kind of already in their scope of work of things they're currently doing, but it would be good to just list that out so that we can make it clear that's something that we really appreciate that they do and they get some credit for it, as well as continue focusing in on that.
Okay.
So that was one for fire and EMS that we can discuss. For public works, again, they're already doing this, but respond in a timely fashion to fix it issues found throughout the community. Again, they're already doing this, but it just wasn't really discussed in some of the things they're doing. And this actually applies to multiple organizations. I know it's not just public works, but just taking the input from the public and getting things resolved. And then in parks and recreation, another goal that said that one of our goals is the programs are designed to foster a sense of community. We talk about, they offer a lot of programs, but I just wonder if we could kind of put that kind of as a goal to help bring people in. Again, like Syracuse Days, all these things are designed to give that sense of community. I just didn't want to know if we wanted to formalize that. In the CED department, I would like to set a goal that says the CED is active in recruiting businesses to the community. We talk a lot about they have a plan, they are knowledgeable and positive, and they communicate well with business community, but there's not a goal for recruiting and attracting growth. Again, I think it's something they're doing, but I would like to formalize that.
Okay.
And then in administration, I wasn't sure if this fits there, but I wanted one that said the city actively seeks opportunities to increase efficiencies and also bring in outside investment. Examples of that would be like grants and donations and things like that, whatever those types of things. I would like to get grants a little bit more priority in the community, as we've seen the huge benefit we've seen just in the past few years in that department, where it's not a goal of our community. I think it should be.
Okay.
And that's all I had.
Okay. I will put these on a future discussion so that we can either agree or disagree.
Okay.
Paul, any?
Sure. Couple of just quick thoughts. One concerning the mission statement, especially as this past budget cycle and truth and taxation hearing, we had a large outpouring from citizens expressing frustration with tax increases. I don't know the exact wording, but I'd like something in our mission statement talking about fiscal responsibility with a focus on that. And a goal for us to focus on and pay attention to as we're at a very high level that can trickle down through all departments. The other things that I might be interested in looking at is I think it's overburdensome for citizens to have to sort through hundreds of pages of our budget and understand it. I'm wondering if we could focus on some of the KPIs, focus more on, maybe what it is, something like cost per household to run the city or something like that. I don't know what data is available to us. But I want some KPIs or look into some KPIs that are reflective of
You define KPI.
key performance indicator.
Thank you.
What's it's costing for citizens, and maybe even a year over a year. If we're tracking that KPI, okay, what was that KPI last year? What is it increasing to this year? Those are my thoughts.
All right, have those noted as well on the list and Julie, did you have?
No, I think that's a great idea. I think I don't have really any comments on changing our vision, but definitely going forward to make a priority that we will be fiscally responsible from here forward. And I like the idea of Jordan, come up with some smart goals that we can achieve.
Okay, Brett.
I really don't have much to add. I did like the possible suggestion in there where they talked about having the mission statement be more people focused. Not that there's anything wrong with it as it stands, but I don't see how it would hurt to have that tone, recognizing the people as part of it. That's all I have.
Okay. All right, I have those down and we will have that as a future discussion item. Thank you for that. It's very helpful as we get started. The next item is consideration to adjourn into a closed session. This is authorized whenever we have something that deals with personal integrity and responsibility of an employee or purchase of property. These are things that and also security issues is another one that's authorized. But these are issues where if we discuss them publicly, we could lose our leverage to make a deal. So, or to be secure. So at this point, I can't identify this is a property discussion, but that's it. So could I get a motion to move into closed session?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. So we will adjourn for 5 minutes, reconvene in the conference room for those who are involved. Brody, who are those managers that are involved?
So we'll have Steve, Colin, Noah.
Okay. Other than that, thank you all for coming. And the main